Hello students, welcome to EPG Parshala. I am Dr. Savita from Maharaja Agrasen University, Baddi, Himachal Pradesh. Today we are going to talk on module Demand and Demand Functions from paper Managerial Economics. After completing this module, you will be able to understand the concept of demand, demand curve, demand function, identifying the relevance variable in a real-world business situation, various types of demand in viewpoint of managerial economics, downward sloping of demand curve and upward sloping of demand curve. The demand for a good is consumer's desire to have it for which he is willing and able to pay. So, desire for certain goods or a service which is supported by the capacity to purchase it is called demand. Generally, people refer to the want or the desire for a same thing as demand. But in economics, they have different meanings. Desire is a wishful thinking. If a man willing to purchase a LED but he has no money to purchase it, then it is only a desire. If he has money with him but he is not ready to spend it, then it becomes his want. And if he has money and he is willing to spend it to buy a LED at a particular price at a given period of time, then it will become his demand. In simple words, we can say that demand for a good is the amount of it that a consumer will purchase at various prices during a period of time. Demand is a quantitative expression of preferences, and in fact, it is a photographic picture of consumers' attitude toward a commodity. According to Professor Benham, the demand for anything at a given price is the amount of it which will be bought per unit of time at that price. According to Hibden, demand means various quantities of a good that would be purchased per time period at different prices at a given market. Now, we are going to discuss constraints of demand. These are desire for good or service, availability of resources, it means ability to pay. Third one is willingness to pay. Next one is at a given price and a given period of time. Demand function for the commodity explains the relationship between the quantity demanded and factors that influence it. There are many factors which influence the demand for a commodity. Some of these factors are given below. When change in the price of one good changes the demand of another good, then we can say that two goods are related with each other. It is of two types, substitute goods and complementary goods. When price of one good increases the demand of another good, it is called substitute goods. And when increase in price of one good decreases the demand of another good, it is called complementary goods. So, substitute goods are positively related and complementary goods are negatively related. income of the consumer is an important determinant of demand. More the income of the people, more will be the demand. When income of the people increases, they can afford to buy more. So, income has a positive effect on demand. People will buy more with increase in income and buy less when income decreases. So, income spending on different goods can be classified as under four necessities. In case of necessities of life, there is no change in demand with the changing level of income of consumer. We can take an example of salt here. Amount of salt used by the consumer has nothing to do with the change of income. Amount of salt used by the consumer is same irrespective the level of income. Comfort goods are those goods which makes our life comfortable. After satisfying necessities of life, people spend money on comforts. Comfort goods are used to maintain or increase efficiency. For example, use of AC in summers and heaters in winter makes life comfortable. In comfort, we can include two types of goods, that is normal goods and inferior goods. For normal good, demand always increase with the increase in income, so there is always positive relationship between income and quantity demanded. In case of inferior goods, demand decreases with the increase of income. For luxuries, after satisfying comfort, people go for luxuries of life. It is directly related with the level of income. As the level of income increases, amount spent on luxuries by the people also increases. Price of good or service. Demand is also influenced by its price. People will buy more at lower prices and buy less at higher prices. A fall in price of goods will lead to rise in consumers' purchasing power as his real income increases. Quality of the good or service. Quality of the product also influences demand. Better quality of the product creates more demand for the product. Tastes and preferences of the consumer. Taste, preferences and fashion also influences demand of a product to a great extent. Demand of a product goes up if consumers have tastes and preference for it, and demand goes down if consumers have no taste for the commodity. Advertisement. Amount spent on advertisement of product will also influence demand. Advertisement of product increases its sale. Weather. Weather conditions of region also affect demand for a particular product. Demand for umbrellas goes up in rainy season. On the other hand, demand for woolen clothes goes up in winter season and goes down in summer season. Expectations. Consumers' expectations also play a very important role in deciding demand. If consumer expects that prices of the product may rise in future, then demand will goes up. On the other hand, expectations of falling prices will diminish the demand. Similarly, If a consumer expects higher income in future, he spends more at present, and if he expects lower income in future, his demand will go down. Growth of population. Demand of the product depends upon the size or growth of population also. Larger the size of the population, greater will be the demand and vice versa. Distribution of income and wealth. Level of national income and wealth is also important factor. Level of national income and wealth is also very important factor of determining demand. Higher the income, more will be the demand, and lower the income, lesser will be the demand. Lower the income, lesser will be the demand. Law of demand describes the general tendency of consumers' behavior. It explains the functional relationship between two variables, that is price and quantity demanded. Law of demand explains the inverse relationship between price and demand. It means people will buy more at lower prices and buy less when prices are rises. In other words, we can say that when price of the commodity falls, demand for the commodity increases, and when price rises, demand for the commodity decreases. According to Samuelson, law of demand states that people will buy more at lower prices and buy less at higher prices if other things remain the same. According to Ferguson, the quantity demanded varies inversely with price. It means there is an inverse relationship between demand and price. So, according to law of demand, if certain things are being equal, when price of a commodity falls, quantity demanded of it will rise. And if the price of commodity rises, its quantity demanded will decline. These other things which are assumed to be constant are the taste and preferences of consumer, income of consumer, price of related goods, size of population, and future expectations of rise or fall in prices. So, there are some assumptions of the law of demand. These are, according to the Stegler and Balding, the law of demand based on some assumptions. These assumptions are, there should be no change in the income of consumer. It is assumed that there should be no change in the taste and preferences of the consumer. There should be no change in the prices of related goods. There should be no change in the size of population, and more important, consumer is a rational consumer. There should be no expectations of rise or fall in prices of related goods in future. There should be a perfect competition in the market. So, law of demand can be explained with the help of demand schedule and demand curve. Demand schedule. It shows the relationship between price and quantities demanded at different prices. Demand schedule can be classified into two categories. Individual demand schedule. It shows quantities of commodities demanded by the individual consumer at different prices. It can be shown with the help of falling table. From the above table, it is seen that consumer X buy more units of commodity A when its prices goes down and buy less when prices high. Market demand schedule. It shows quantities of commodities demanded by all the consumers in a market. In other words, we can say that market demand schedule is defined as the quantities of a given commodity which all consumers will buy at all possible prices at a given point of time. It can be shown with the help of falling table. It is clear from the above table that market demand increases when prices of commodities go down. Demand curve is a graphical presentation of demand schedule. It is of two types, individual demand curve and market demand curve. When individual demand schedule is presented diagrammatically, it is known as individual demand curve. In other words, we can say it is a graphical presentation of demand schedule. In the above figure, in OX axis, we take quantity demanded, and in OY axis, we take price per unit of commodity. DD is demand curve. The points A, B and C shows the price quantity relationship. By joining these points, we get a negative sloping demand curve which shows consumer will buy more at lower prices and buy less when prices are high. Market demand curve is a graphical presentation of the market demand schedule. It is a lateral summation of the individual demand curve of each consumer. In the above figures A and B, different quantities are shown at different price levels demanded by individual customers X and Y. And figure C depicts market demand. Market demand curve is drawn by taking the lateral summation of individual demand curve. Law of demand shows inverse relationship between demand and price. It means people buy less at higher prices and buy more at lower prices. When this relationship presented with the help of graph, the slope of curve that we got, that is downward. It means it is left to the right downward. Here are some reasons which are responsible for its downward sloping. First of all, I am going to discuss the income effect. When the price of the commodity falls, the consumer can buy more quantities of the commodities with his given income, because with fall in price, his real income goes up. Real income is that income which is measured in terms of goods and services. For example, consumer has 50 rupees and he want to buy 5 units of commodity A. Now, suppose price of A commodity falls, which leads to an increase in his real income by rupees 10. As now he is able to buy 5 units of A commodity for rupees 40 only. So, it is observed that at high price, real income will be less, and at lower price, real income will be more. Substitution effect. Demand curve slope downward due to substitution effect also. A fall in the price of good while the prices of its substitutes remain same will make it attractive to the buyer who will now demand more of it. On the other hand, a rise in the price of good when the prices of its substitutes remain same will make it unattractive to the consumer and they will buy lesser quantities of it. We can take here example of tea and coffee. When prices of tea rise, demand for coffee also rises. And when price of tea fall, demand of coffee also falls. It can be shown with the help of diagram too. Law of diminishing marginal utility is also a reason for its downward sloping. The law of diminishing marginal utility states that as consumer goes on consuming more and more units of commodities, the utility derived from each successive unit goes on diminishing. It means consumer is in equilibrium when marginal utility of commodity is equal to its price. It means as the price of commodity falls, consumer purchases more of the commodity so that his marginal utility from the commodity falls to be equal to the reduced price and vice versa. New consumers. A commodity tends to be put more use by customers when its price falls. Many other consumers who were not consuming that commodity now will start to consume. As a result, total market demand goes up. Too many uses. There are some commodities which have several uses. So when price of such commodities goes down, people use it more for other purposes too. And when their price goes up, they use it for important purposes only. Psychological effect. It's a natural phenomenon that people buy more at lower prices and buy less at higher prices. So, with fall in prices, demand increases, and with rise in prices, demand of commodities decreases. Exceptions to the law of demand. As we know, with the fall in prices, people demanded more quantities, and with the rise in prices, they demanded less quantities, if other things being equal. But in certain cases, people buy more even at higher prices, which are called exceptions to the law of demand. In such circumstances, demand curve will slope upward or positive. So, positive sloping demand curve shows the direct relationship between price and demand. It can be shown with the help of diagram also. It shows a direct relation between price and demand, which means demand goes up with the rise in prices and goes down when prices falls. So, the factors which are responsible for positive slope of demand curve are given below. Prestigious goods. Veblen effect. According to Veblen, American economist, some consumer measure the utility of commodity by its price. They consider greater the price of a commodity, the greater its utility. So, in case of Veblen goods or article of distinction. People buy more at higher prices just to show off their status. For example, diamonds are considered prestigious goods in the society, and for upper strata of the society, the higher the price of diamond, higher the prestige value for them. Giffen goods. Sir Robert Giffen observed that in case of inferior goods, with the fall in prices, people buy less quantities of it because they are ready to purchase some superior goods, as with the fall in price, their real income increased. After the name of Sir Robert Giffen, such goods in whose case there is a direct relationship are called Giffen goods. Expectations. People will buy more even when there is increase in prices if they expect that price may rise in near future. Similarly, they will buy less even at lower prices if they expect that prices of commodities goes down in near future. So that is the reason of upward sloping of demand curve. During war or emergency, during the period of war, people may start buying for hoarding or building stock even at higher prices. But in case of depression, they will buy less even at lower prices. Ignorance. Some consumers think that more will be the price, higher will be the quality, or sometimes they purchased goods at higher prices out of sheer ignorance. Change in demand means change in demand due to its price as well as other factors such as income, fashion, habits, etc. When demand changes due to change in price, such change is called extension and contraction of demand. It is also known as movement along a demand curve. If demand of goods increases due to fall in price, it is called extension in demand. Only price is the main determinant, and if demand decreases with a rise in prices, it is called contraction in demand. As it is shown in this diagram, demand changes for two reasons, that is due to price and due to other factors. When demand changes due to price, it is called extension in demand or contraction in demand. When demand changes due to other factors like fashion, taste, habits, etc., then it is known as increase in demand or decrease in demand. Extension in demand. Extension of demand means if other things remains the same, as the prices falls, demand tends to increase. This can be shown with the help of table and figure. This table shows that when prices of goods fall, demand is extended. When the price of commodity is 5, quantity demanded is 14. As price goes down to 4, quantity demanded increases 14 to 16. And when price goes to 2, quantity demanded increases to 20. It can be shown with the help of following figure also. In x-axis, we take demand and y-axis, we take price. Downward arrow shows the extension in demand. Contraction in demand. When demand decreases with the rise in prices, it is called contraction in demand. It is shown by following table and diagram. When the price of commodity is 2, quantity demanded is 20. When it goes up, that is 3, the quantity demanded decreased to 18. This table shows that when prices rise, demand diminishes. It can be shown with the help of diagram also. In x-axis we take demand and in y-axis we take price. Upward arrow shows the contraction in demand. It may happen by two ways: same price, more demand, more price, same demand. Same price, more demand. When there is more demand even at same prices and same demand even at more prices. It can be shown with the help of following table and diagram. In this table, it is shown that when the price is 10, demand is increasing, that is 10 to 15. Second one is more price, same demand. When price is 10, demand is 10, and when price increases, demand will be the same. It can be shown with the help of diagram also. In x-axis we take demand and in y-axis we take price. Decrease in demand. Demand can be decreased in two ways: same price, less demand, less price, same demand. Same price, less demand. When there is same price but demand goes on decreasing, it is called decrease in demand. It can be shown with the help of following table and diagram. As it is shown in the table, there is a same price of commodity, that is 10, but its demand goes down, that is 15 to 10. Less price, same demand. As it is shown in the table, as price goes down, that is 15 to 10, its demand is same, that is 10 units. It is also shown by the following diagram. In x-axis we take demand and y-axis we take price. Types of demand. On the basis of business point of view, managerial economics has various types. These are direct and derived demand, joint and composite demand, competitive and complementary demand, price and income demand, new and replacement demand, individual and market demand, demand for consumer and producer goods, demand for perishable and durable goods. Direct and derived demand. Direct demand refers to demand for goods, mean for final consumption. It is the demand for consumer goods like food items, ready-made garments, etc. It is a demand which satisfies human wants directly. On the other hand, derived demand refers to demand for goods which are needed for further production. It is the demand for producers' goods like industrial raw material, machines and tools, etc. Joint and composite demand. Two or more goods are said to be jointly demanded when they must be consumed together to provide a given level of satisfaction. Some examples are car and fuel, compact disc player and CD. On the other hand, composite demand refers to a good that has multiple purposes and satisfies different needs. The demand for power is composite as it is used for several purposes. Competitive and complementary demand. Competitive demand is the demand for products that are competing for sales. People can substitute one competing product for another. If the demand for one product increases, the demand for its competitors will decrease. For example, Coke and Pepsi are competing soft drinks. If the price of Pepsi drops below that of Coke, consumer demand for Pepsi will increase while the demand for Coke decreases. Complementary goods occurs when two products are necessary to meet one demand. A change in the demand for one of these goods causes a similar change in demand for the other product. For example, car needed gasoline or diesel fuel. An increase in the demand for automobiles leads to an increase in the demand for fuel. Both competitive and complementary demand, collectively known as cross demand. Price, income, and gross demand. It indicates the relation between price and demand. It refers to the various quantities of the commodity which the consumer will buy at a particular time at a particular price. It shows inverse relationship between demand and price or vice versa. On the other hand, income demand indicates the relation between income and demand of the consumer. Generally, it shows the direct relationship between income and demand. New and replacement demand. If commodity is purchased for the purpose of an addition to stock, it is a new demand. And if commodity is purchased for maintaining the old stock of capital or asset, it is replacement demand. Such replacement expenditure is to overcome depreciation in the existing stock. Individual and market demand. Individual demand refers to the quantity of product demanded by individual at a point of time or over a period of time given. On the other hand, market demand for a commodity is the sum of all individual demands by all consumers. Demand for consumers and producers' goods. Consumer goods are needed for direct consumption. It is demanded for ultimate consumption like soft drinks, milk breads, etc. On the other hand, producers' goods are demanded for production of other goods such as tools and machinery, etc. Demand for perishable and durable goods. Demand for perishable goods is made at regular intervals. Perishable goods are those goods which cannot be used more than once or cannot store over a long period. For example, soap, sweets, fruits, etc. Durable goods are those goods which have repeated uses. Durable goods meet both the current as well as future demand. These goods could be stored for a long period, for example, shoes, books, etc. Now students, let's summarize what we have learned in this module. This module has focused on the basic elements of demand. Law of demand explains the inverse relationship between price and demand. There are many factors that affect demand like price of related goods, income of consumer, taste, preferences and habits, expectations and weather, etc. The change in demand or variation in demand means change in demand due to its price as well as other factors such as income, fashion, etc. When demand changes due to change in price, such change is called extension and contraction of demand. It is also known as movement along a demand curve. If demand of goods increases due to fall in price, it is called extension in demand. Price is the mainly determinant in the change in demand, and if demand decreases with a rise in prices, it is called contraction in demand. On the basis of business point of view, managerial economics has various types such as direct and derived demand, joint and composite demand, competitive and complementary demand, and so on.